Hello everyone, this was or is a psychic reading on pesticides. So this was a request, and thank you for your donations. Um, and I thought that this was a very important thing to do a video on, so I am posting this to the public. So I have a bunch of different ones here, and I'm just going to go through them in order. I've already done readings and meditation on all of these to see what comes up when I tune into them. And I'm just going to be going over each one and my notes that I've written for them. This took a good long while. I've been doing it for. It's been kind of like the main project of my whole day, to be honest. But I finally got through it, so here we go. So the first one is glyphosate, and I believe this is the most common pesticide out there. That's basically the reason why GMOs are bad, basically, is because of this pesticide in particular. There's probably others. There are definitely others, but I think this is the main one. I don't claim to be an expert in this field and know everything about it, but I'm just sharing what has come to me through my meditation on these subjects. So, first thing I saw a skull and crossbones, so that didn't seem good. I get kidneys could be affected. This could be related to kidney stones or some other issues of the kidneys. I get that drinking lots of water seems to help with glyphosate, specifically when it's building up in the body as a way to detox from it. Of course, with moderation, you don't want to just drink tons of water because that can actually be bad for you because you end up flushing out all of your minerals when you urinate. So, moderation with everything. I see corn as if they may be used on corn. I believe that would make sense. I also see cows as if this may be bad for the internal organs of the cows. This may negatively affect cow milk in some way. It seems like it can make the cow's milk less nutritious for the baby cows, and it may even cause slightly less milk to be produced. So I didn't look that up to verify that after I did this reading, but maybe you may know information, so if you do, let me know in the comments. This does not seem like a good pesticide. This one seems very bad. It seems to just kill everything it touches on a micro level. It may cause upset digestion over time for people. Not like immediately, but more like as it accumulates. It seems to have an accumulative effect. Once it poisons the body, or once it poisons the body's organs of digestion, it seems to then move up to the brain, and it may cause migraines and irritability for some individuals. Again, this thing about it moving up to the brain, and I'll get to the next chemical that is the alternative to it, and they both seem to be very similar and affect the brain. And the next one is very interesting because it sounds like something maybe going on that is not being reported. But I'm going to continue on with glyphosate. Okay. So it may cause migraines and irritability for some individuals, mostly for children in their developmental stages, though. So that's interesting. It seems to be less of an issue for the elderly. This seems to be because children's brains are growing and taking more nutrients up to the brain. I got the sense of rat poison, like this could kill a rat, or at least it is just a metaphor coming through. I sense a tingling in my fingers, or it wasn't my fingers, but it was just like the sense of tingling in fingers, as if the extremities of the body can become numb over time if exposed to large amounts. This may be more than regular consumption, though, as far as just standard consumption of food and things that have it in it. But if someone was to be sprayed with it, that's more where you may get the tingling in the fingers type of feeling. For regular consumption, I see, as far as just like what is normal if you just eat GMO food from the grocery store, I see people overweight, but despite their body, there seems to be less of them, or their consciousness, you could say, inhabiting the body. The outer layers of the body are less consciously inhabited by their spirit. So the way that I was seeing it was almost like there's a person in a big body that was mildly overweight, but like they were like smaller than the body, like hiding inside the body, and it was almost as if the outer layers of the body were kind of just uninhabited. There's also a desire to eat more to fill in the gap of the spirit that is missing within the body, but the glyphosate seems to continue the process if continued to be consumed in large quantities regularly. I do get the sense that there is less of it in the food supply now, that's a good thing, than there was in the last 10 years or so. And I haven't done research in to see like if there's studies on that or info on that, but that was just the sense that I was getting. Again, all of this is just the sense that I'm getting when I go into meditation. So I should say a disclaimer here. This is not health advice. These statements have definitely not been evaluated by the FDA. And I also don't claim to always be 100% on everything. Sometimes, things can be open to interpretation, so keep that in mind. Okay. I do get the sense that okay, I already said that. It seems for some reason people consume less of it on average now. That's a good thing. I see people choosing healthier options with less spray, and the growers also deciding to use less of it themselves. I see this being a trend that seems to be increasing, and I see that many of the issues have already been at their worst and seem to be improving as far as the dose goes. And what I mean by that is it's as if people are using less and less of it in general. And this seems to be a trend moving forward. So that's the good news. So then I asked the question, how bad is this really? The answer I got was, it seems a small amount disrupts the gut and causes stress on the body, a feeling of uneasiness. This can be felt sometimes from fast food, is what I'm getting, regardless of the glyphosate. It seems to clear out the body rather fast, though. Clear out of the body, I should say. So it doesn't stay around for a long time, so that's good. So as long as you don't eat it all the time, it doesn't seem to be a serious issue. It seems that after a day or two, its toxic effects are cleared out of the body. If consumed daily, it will add up, but if only consumed every 3 days or so, it will not add up unless consumed in some ridiculously high dose. This does seem pretty bad for the body, but it doesn't seem much worse than alcohol. So having a meal with glyphosate may only be as toxic to the body as a beer or so is what I was getting. So that doesn't seem that bad. Beer isn't that bad, but if you have a quarter of a beer every time you eat food, that does add up and slowly takes a toll on the body. alcohol in high concentrations also can kill just about anything. So take that in mind, because alcohol, it kills things off, just like pesticides kill things off. So, this doesn't stop me from occasionally drinking, um, but there's not much benefit that you get from glyphosate besides for it being cheaper. So there is that aspect to it. I guess that would be the positive side, is that the food is cheaper to produce and buy. So ultimately, the choice is yours. It's not the end of the world, but it's not something that seems that great regardless. So the dangers of consuming daily, I got cancer showed up, and I got breast cancer in particular. I also saw obesity related to the need to eat to feel better, and it was as if this was somehow being stimulated within the body, like the body is just sensing there's something not quite right, and it's like the idea of comfort food, and how sometimes you eat to feel more comfortable and to make the body feel better again. There just seems to be something that's stimulated from that was showing up for me. I did get birth defects showing up, so that was a big red flag. The sense of, because it's just not positive energetically for the body, it can cause people to manifest more desperation and sorrow into their life. I didn't specifically get that it would necessarily shorten someone's lifespan directly, but it could definitely contribute to other factors that could, such as other health conditions, if they were to get bad enough. But it doesn't directly shorten people's lifespans, is what I was getting. So after I did this reading, that was all without me really looking it up or knowing anything about it. And then after I looked it up, I did a little bit of research. So I got that it is a non-selective herbicide, meaning it will kill most plants. Glyphosate infiltrates the brain and increases pro-inflammatory cytokine. This has implications for neurodegenerative disorders. So that is not good. Again, I was getting something about the brain with this one. It's this one and the next one only that I was getting info about the brain, and the rest of them were more about body situations, and there was one that had a connection to the somatic nervous system that was showing up for me when I was reading it. But let's move on to the second one here. Don't want to make this video too long. But the next one is an alternative to glyphosate, which is the one we just did, which, as far as I understand, is basically what is in most GMO food. So this is the alternative to that, is what I was told. So this is glufosinate as opposed to glyphosate. So glufosinate. This is what came to me in meditation. This seems to be in a lot of foods. This seems to affect the brain. There's a sense of dumbing down. And this was unique to all of them. I didn't see this in any of the other ones. This doesn't seem to affect the body as much as the brain. This seems to cause a brain dead effect where people are slower. It may also cause cancer. It also reminds me of a psychiatric drug to keep people away from ADHD type behavior. It creates a spacey and more accepting mindset. This almost feels like MDMA. That's an exaggeration, but I'm just trying to explain it in a positive sense of being at peace with others. But it is also more of a zombie-like effect, causing a blank stare. This is much more subtle than it sounds, but that is the only way to explain it. This seems like something to give to kids to make them stop crying or acting out. This is unfortunately showing me tumors now, and that this could also develop ulcers in rare cases. This one may not be as bad for the body, but it scares me because the power of the mind is very important. This seems to almost have a disassociative effect, but in a creepy behavior modification sort of way. It seems to get rid of creative thoughts and individuality. This is very subtle over time, but it is a big deal in my mind. I am not sure if glyphosate is better or worse, but they seem to be on a parallel level to me, even though this is supposed to be an alternative to glyphosate. A lifetime of this at high dose seems to create a lifestyle of no individual thoughts. Again, that's an exaggeration, but I'm just trying to put it into words so that you understand what I'm trying to say here. But obviously it's not like you have no individual thoughts ever. It's just that it kind of promotes that type of mind, I guess you could say. This one seems to have lasting effects on the brain that could last up to a week after consumption. So that's a long time compared to the other ones. That was maybe the longest as far as how long its effects stay with you in the body. Okay, as far as just what's coming to me in meditation, of course maybe there's science that says otherwise. And I'm not saying you should dismiss the science based off what I'm saying. I'm just saying this is just what comes to me, so take it all with a grain of salt, make of it what you will. So when I looked up the research on this, here's some notes. Application of glufosinate to plants leads to reduced glutamine and elevated ammonia levels in tissues. So that's within plants. Glufosinate is a broad-spectrum herbicide that is used to control important weeds such as morning glories, hemp, smartweed, I don't know what that is, yellow nutsedge, so I don't know. Anyways, such foods include potatoes, peas, beans, corn, wheat, and barley. In addition, the chemical can be passed to humans through animals who are fed contaminated straw. The herbicide is also persistent. It has been found to be prevalent in spinach, radishes, wheat, and carrots that were planted 120 days after the treatment of the herbicide. That's a long time. Illegal in France due to possible reproductive toxicity for men and women. Although there seems to be a lot of disagreement and differing studies on cancer with these first two that I've talked about so far. It kills weeds by blocking essential amino acids necessary for the photosynthesis process. And this kind of reminds me of like seeing the brain, and it was almost as if there was something going to the brain, and it was like being slowed down, and kind of reminded me of how they're saying that it was blocking amino acids necessary for photosynthesis process. And apparently it is considered not likely to be carcinogenic in humans, although I question that, categorized as slightly more dangerous than glyphosate. So it's the alternative to it from what I hear, but some people, apparently the authorities say it could be slightly more dangerous. So there you have it. And to be honest, these top two are probably the most dangerous sounding of them all, but I will continue down to the next one here. This one was interesting because I was reading it as being a little worse than the literature, but then as we go down, some of them were seeming less and less harmful. But this one is, let's see if I can pronounce this, Triclopyr, Triclopyr. I don't know how to pronounce that, but regardless, I did a reading on it. So here we go. I got the scent of grapes here, and to be fair, I did look it up to see if I was on track or not, and I was, because apparently this is used with grapes, but I still didn't know anything about it. So what I was getting was this seems to kill insects more so rather than larger animals. This seems like it could easily kill a human if the dose was high enough. This one seems to work not so much by disrupting the organs in the body to cause death, but it seems to more directly just simply kill whatever touches it. So it doesn't even need to get into the organs first. That's at least the way that I was reading it. I see someone throwing up from it as if they may be as if that may be a symptom experienced more with this one. This one seems like if you touch it, it could kill the cells directly that were exposed to it. Or more like if it was in your body, just the cells that it touches. Unfortunately, this one doesn't seem any less deadly, but it is different in that it seems to have less of a systematic effect on the body, and the toxic effect can be more localized to a specific area of infection on the body. When eaten on grapes, this seems to shut down the nervous system ever so slightly, but not enough to notice. This may cause growth to become stunted and to slow development of children. This seems to also slow down the development of any mental process taking place of anyone at any age. It lowers ambition. It seems to interrupt the innovative spirit by pressing the restart button, so to speak, during a moment of inspiration. So it's kind of like disrupting things, and so like if you're on a roll, it kind of like disrupts that, basically, is the way that I was reading it. So I wanted to ask, what about red wine? I get the sense that most of it breaks down in the process of making red wine. This seems time related. The pesticide seems to break down over time. It seems that grape juice may lose some due to the oxygen exposure of juicing the grapes along with the time. This seems promising. It seems to get rid of a large amount of it, but maybe 20% of it will still remain. Whereas with red wine, it seems that closer to 8 of it will remain. It seems that grapes sitting on the shelf also break down some of the chemical, but this seems to be a much lower amount. It may still have 80 to 60% of the original amount sprayed on it by the time it is sold. I get that heat may may help detox from this one in particular. Again, this is Triclopyr or something like that. It seems that overall the previous chemical Glyphosate seems worse, but this one is not much worse, unfortunately. You can still consume this and be healthy, but it is not helping the situation. I do see people still getting a lot of benefit from eating grapes with this sprayed on them, if the grapes are eaten after it has been sitting for a while in the heat of summertime to help break it down, I guess. It seems better than no grapes. So like if you had grapes that were not organic and had this sprayed on it, it seems that it's better to have it than not have it with grapes if there was no other option. But if you can't afford it, then the no spray grapes may be the better option. So when I looked this up, just to do a quick search on some things about it, it says kills specific weeds, so less broad than the other two, more specific in what it's targeting. Because studies into the carcinogenicity of Triclopyr have produced conflicting results, EPA has categorized it as a Group D compound or a chemical that is not classifiable as to human carcinogenicity. The salt formation in Garland 3A can cause severe eye damage. It affects actively growing plants by mimicking a specific type of plant growth hormone known as, I don't know, I'm not going to say it. Plants rapidly take in Triclopyr, however you say it, through leaves and roots. It causes uncontrolled plant growth and plant death. After absorbing the herbicide, plants die slowly within weeks. Research seems to say it is not as bad as I had been seeing it. So, I had been kind of reading it as being pretty bad, but a lot of the information out there says it's not that bad. But I don't know. I feel that it's probably worse than what they're saying. That's just me, based off of what I was reading. Okay, so moving on to the next one. Fluroxypyr. I'm just guessing on how to pronounce these. It's spelled Fluroxypyr, and I'll put little timestamps below this video so you can hover over the sections and see the names it's spelled out. Okay. I see what looks like cornstarch or something of that nature. That was just the first thing that came to me, so that's just what I wrote. Doesn't have to make sense. I get a slightly better feeling from this one. I hear the word ammonia, but I'm getting it mixed with pneumonia, the disease. It seems that ammonia could cause pneumonia regardless, but there's a nauseating smell in the air, as if a bathroom had just been cleaned out and there is a strange smell from that. I get the color yellow associated with this. Reminds me of a cleaning chemical that may cause dizziness in high doses. This one does seem to affect the lungs. It seems to cause a queasiness feeling in the body, but it doesn't seem extremely toxic besides for the lungs. This one may take 3 to 4 days to no longer affect the body. So it may stay with you for 3 to 4 days after consuming it, but it seems to do so very minimally. It may increase inflammation in the body. I get the sense of floating in the clouds as if someone was high. This may cause a slight sedative effect and may make thoughts slightly less clear. These are very minor effects that would probably not be noticeable. I see what looks like a possible calcium deposit on the spine. And it might have not been calcium, but that's just what I can rationalize, what I can think of that would make sense of what that would be. This seems like large doses continuously through time could lead to bone formation issues of some kind. This is not a major concern unless consistent consumption without any breaks continues for over 6 months to a year. This seems to have many other factors involved, and that with detoxification of the body, this is not a concern. It doesn't seem as deadly as the previous 2 or I should say 3 chemicals that I have already talked about, but it may have some negative effects on the strength of the body over time just from taking its toll on the body. So quick research on this. Kills weed. It is said to have a low toxicity. I guess that's kind of what I was saying compared to the others. It seems to be a lower toxicity. Inhalation may cause mild respiratory irritation. Again, there we go with them talking about the respiratory and inhalation aspect of it, and also inhalation may cause headaches and dizziness. So there's that. So moving on to the next one. Clopyralid, I don't know. Clopyralid, something like that. Okay, I see green and a green leaf stem. This one seems not so bad at first glance. That's good. I see ants walking along, almost as if this one doesn't kill them. It seems to make the plants look more shiny. This doesn't seem good for humans, but it seems more of an irritant than anything else. That sounds pretty good to me compared to the others. It may be similar to eating a whole bunch of char from overcooked food. You know, like if you burn food, char, just black stuff. I see oats. It may also cause irritation on the back of the throat. It doesn't seem to affect the brain or the internal organs too badly. I see it being in drinking water, as if this might somehow be in the water already sometimes. I don't know, you could look that up, tell me if you find anything about that. It seems to just be an extra load of stuff for the body to break down and get rid of. But besides for that, it doesn't seem particularly toxic or deadly in the way that the others seem to be. This may cause very subtle back pain for a very short period during the potential overload of the body breaking things down. That would be the chemical being broken down. This is nothing more than what can be experienced after eating too much food. I don't know if you've ever experienced that where your body just kind of aches when you overeat. That might be if you're overeating unhealthy food too. It is not good for the body though. However, if I was to choose one so far, this would be the best so far. Clopyralid, probably mispronouncing that way off. Anyways, the research says targets specific weeds to kill, such as broadleaf weeds, especially thistles and clovers. Low toxicity to inhale, eat, and touch. Not a skin irritant. So it seems the research seems to agree with what I was saying, that this one doesn't seem particularly too bad. So that's cool. Moving on to Picloram. Picloram, however you say it. Picloram. And I wrote grapes again because I was just seeing grapes, and then I had to, of course, look that up and just type that in and type grapes, and it apparently is used for grapes, so I confirmed that, and I was like, okay, I'm on a right track, so I'll keep going with this. So, this one seems not to be too bad. I see people drinking grape juice and it being refreshing. That would be grape juice treated with this. There may be some minor queasiness the body could feel, but it is so subtle it's almost non-existent. So this one at first seemed pretty good too. But it seems that there could be some a little bit worse than the previous one. It seems the body breaks this chemical down rapidly before it needs to go to the liver necessarily to be detoxed. Like, before it gets there, it can already start being broken down. It's as if the blood itself or something in the blood may be able to break it down. That one I can't really confirm. I don't know, I wasn't able to find that in the research. I didn't look that hard, so if you know anything about that, you can post. I get the sense that this one may help keep the fruit more fresh and vibrant in some way. High concentrations of this seem to be bad for the digestive tract and could cause serious toxicity, but it seems that the concentrations are generally so low by the time it is consumed that it is easily detoxed before causing too much damage. This one may be close to equal as far as health goes to the previous chemical. So I think this one may be a little bit worse actually, but pretty close. So I looked it up, and the research says kills a wide range of broad-leaved weeds, but most grasses are resistant to it. So the fact that most grasses are resistant to it seems like it maybe is less toxic than some of the others. Moderate to low toxicity. These all they usually all say low toxicity levels, but I kind of don't always buy that. I mean, it's all within the dose. Like, toxicity is dose related, so just keep that in mind. You could say alcohol is highly toxic if you drink Everclear, but if you have a Bud Light, it's slightly, mildly toxic. Anyways, the research also says that it causes changes to the liver in animals. So this kind of is conflicting with what I was reading. It also says does not cause cancer. I didn't see anything specific about cancer showing up for me in the reading, but I was getting something about the liver, and I looked. What I was able to find was that it causes changes to the liver in animals. So maybe it does get to the liver, or some of it can get to the liver, but it seemed to me like it was able to be broken up or metabolized by the body quickly. So I'll move on here. This one stood out to me. Diquat. I don't, that sounds almost offensive. Diquat. I don't know how to pronounce that. Diquat. All right. Let's get into this one. What I was getting was not a good feeling about this one. Seems to affect the brain and nervous system. This one seems like why chemicals have a bad name. This seems to have drug-like effects. This one could make someone pass out if inhaled. In large doses, this seems to be able to knock someone out. This one may cause prostate health issues as well as gastrointestinal issues of the lower intestine. This could be quite painful trying to go to the bathroom. This seems to have a potential to cause some of those unexplainable sharp pains that may occasionally be felt in the body. Besides for that, it doesn't seem to have long-term effects that are too bad. This may stay in the body for up to 3 days or so is what I was getting, or at least the side effects, that is. I get the word somatic showing up, as if this has to do with the somatic nervous system. I looked up the word somatic, and then I realized that there was a somatic nervous system, and I think that's more what it was about. Somatic usually just is a reference to the mind. There is some sort of disconnect between the nervous system, between the body and brain. This seems to produce some sharp pain occasionally as a result. This may also cause a temporary pause or slowing down of the nervous system between the connection of the brain to the rest of the body. If consumed daily, this could cause some people a slowing down of the brain, as if one was stoned. Sniffing glue comes to mind more so than smoking pot. This isn't going to cause serious long-term effects, however, but if used long-term, it will become a long-term situation, obviously. This is not a good one, is what I was getting. But I still see glyphosate being worse and potentially, well, this one I think would be still worse than, it's, however you say it, Triclopyr, Triclopyr. I think that this one would be a little worse than that one, but they may be similar as far as I was reading it. With the research says causes extreme drying to the plants and leaves to fall off. For humans, may cause nosebleeds. Exposure to large amounts of Diquat dibromide may cause severe poisoning with nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, tremors, convulsions, and even death. And so when I see tremors and convulsions, that confirms to me that it does affect the nervous system, because those are nervous system conditions, tremors and convulsions. So there you go. Okay. Moving on to the very last one. Hopefully this video is not too long. Here we go. Pelargonic acid, if I pronounced that right. Pelargonic acid. Could cause allergic-like reactions on skin. This seems to not be good for skin health long term. It seems like it may act on the nutrition, lowering the nutrients getting to the body, causing a weakness with long-term use. This seems to affect the nervous system and could worsen autoimmune diseases. This isn't directly working on the nervous system, but in the sense that it kind of takes a toll on the body. This may cause wasting diseases in humans, such as weakness in general. This may speed up aging of the body. This seems like the opposite effect of antioxidants. This doesn't seem to have drug-like effects like many other chemicals so far, but it seems to directly weaken the strength of the body. It doesn't seem as bad as half the others on this list so far, though. It seems to take people to a certain level of deficiency, and then it's as if it can't go further in damage. So it can, like, weaken you to a certain point, but it's as if once you get to a certain point, it's like it stops weakening you. It was interesting. But the initial damage of 20 years or so consuming it regularly can still be horrible and contribute to weak bones and fragility. I don't see it lowering a lifespan directly through poisoning mechanism, but it does seem to slowly weaken the body, which could lead to a shortened lifespan. Now, I realized just now that I did not do any research on this one, so I'm going to pause this video and quickly look this up and get right back to you. Okay, I'm back here with some notes. Just a quick, research, skim through some research. I got, well, first of all, I realized that I had misspelled it. So it is actually spelled Pelargonic acid. Pelargonic acid. So anyways, here's the research. They say pelargonic acid is not expected to have adverse effects on non-targeted organisms or the environment, which is like, oh, okay. But it's confusing because then the same article says toxicity tests on non-target organisms such as birds, fish, and honeybees revealed little or no toxicity. But if there's a little toxicity, that's a little toxicity still. So because pelargonic acid is an herbicide, it could harm non-target plants if pesticide spray drifted beyond the intended target area. Users are required to minimize the drift by using large spray droplets and taking other precautions. Also, pelargonic acid attacks weeds by destroying the cell walls of the weed's leaves. So that really kind of makes a lot of sense with what I was getting about it, that it just kind of like breaks things down, like just breaks down the cells. It directly just breaks down the cells, the cell walls of the leaves. So that makes sense. Pelargonic acid occurring naturally in many plants. So this apparently occurs in plants. Some plants produce things. Sometimes you'll hear people talk about anti-nutrients in plants. things that plants naturally produce. So I don't know if this would be considered an organic pesticide or not, but I know there are organic pesticides. I only have so much time and so much research to do on this, so you can enlighten me in the comments. But this is produced in many plants, including food plants, so most people are regularly exposed to small amounts of this chemical. So again, I was reading it as, having these effects being kind of the opposite of antioxidants and increasing aging, but I also did say that it, what did I say? I said it doesn't seem as bad as half the others on this list so far, so, it didn't seem to be that horrible for the body, and that seems like the research is saying that even more so than I was expressing it. So there's that. I always recommend to, take everything with a grain of salt, that being everything I say, everything that you hear scientists saying. Nothing is 100% ever. No psychic is ever 100%. All the greatest psychics have always made false predictions, etc. So, if you watched this all the way to the end, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate that. It's been a long video. Put a lot of time into this. If you are interested in monthly psychic predictions, you can always subscribe and hit that notification bell and set it to all notifications. That way you will actually get notified by YouTube. Besides for that, you can sign up on my Patreon page. It's only $5 a month if you would like to join to see some of my more controversial stuff that I don't really talk about on a public platform. So, thank you for watching and have a great day.